Hello everyone, this is a satellite dish. In this video I'm gonna try to show you how to make a solar cooker using just an ordinary satellite dish with this simple piece of metal attached down there that is just somewhat protruding down here, and I'm gonna try to make it really simple, just taking you through these steps as I go, and hopefully we'll end up with something interesting and useful. You're gonna need a sanding machine because to put the reflective surface on the dish, you need to sand it down first. Currently, and I think most of the dishes come like that, the surface is rather rough. It's not something you can glue stuff on top. So we're gonna just sand it down using the sanding machine, which is a beast. I got it off a friend. So I'm gonna try to do that, and I'll see how I go. Just one more thing, it's a good idea to make sure that you've got some appropriate protection, so you don't breathe in all the dust that there's gonna be plenty of that, and I think I'm gonna need to use sanding paper because this one is pretty much flat. You can see that on the dish. It's not doing terribly great job with that sanding paper, but I'm just gonna try to get new sanding paper and see how I go. So I got some new sanding paper. There was some rain while I was away. Let's see how it goes with this new one. It's the one for the paint. The one I had before was for just for sanding wooden surfaces. So this one should be better. Let's give it a go. Cool, so I've done the sanding, and I think I'm pretty happy with that. There's a couple of spots in there. You can already see that there's metal coming through the paint. Probably the paint wasn't too thick in there. Initially I thought that it could be worth sanding it all down to the bare metal, but it seems that the paint coat is way too thick, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. It's pretty smooth. You can see I just water it down using this spraying thing. But so yeah, just to remove all the dust. There's a lot of dust. Make sure you wear the appropriate protection when you do that. Primarily just for breathing, and do that in the clothing that you just basically nothing that's too expensive. The next thing I'm gonna do is just to let it dry. Cool. So the thing has dried up, as you can see. Although there's still a bit of a paint dust left. So I'm just gonna wipe it down with some of the with some tissues. You can probably see over here that it collects quite a bit of dust. We need to remove the dust before we spray paint that thing, otherwise it's not gonna be as smooth as it could have been. So I'm just gonna wipe it all down. Now I'm gonna remove the mount. Cool, so now we've got the dish positioned on the on some old plastic bags. I've got the spray paint here. It's a black spray paint. Hopefully it will give a nice even coat that will be really smooth when it dries up. Just gonna give it a shot. Seems to be going pretty good so far, but I think I'm running out of the black paint. I may have to use the pink one just to make it look really cool, although it doesn't really matter because it's gonna be all covered with the reflective surface. And I think we're almost out of the paint. Yeah, it's gone. Gonna need new one. Oh well. Now we need to get some mylar stripes. In order to do that, we take a mylar blanket. It's a safety blanket normally found in any decent emergency kit. And you can also order those off eBay for like $3 or $4 each for a huge blanket. This is actually not a complete blanket. You can already see that I cut off one piece here to make a tiny reflective mirror. I'm just going to show you that. It's a parabolic mirror that you need to just use a bit of vacuum to turn it into a parabolic shape. It's actually a pretty good mirror. You can start a fire with that, but it's still too small if you want to cook something. That's why we're building a bigger one. So now, using the Mylar blanket, a paper knife, and a piece of a wooden board, we're just gonna cut a few really narrow stripes, like not really narrow, but like few centimeters wide, maybe 5-7 centimeters wide, something like that. So we then can glue those on top of the satellite dish. You can see here 4 stripes, something made. They sort of look quite crude, but I think they'll do the job. We'll see that next. Cool, so now we've got our Mylar stripes. We've got the sanded and painted dish. What I'm gonna try to do next, and I'm not really sure whether that's gonna work, but anyway, that's the first version of it. I'm gonna use the glue stick, a simple glue that just you can get in the supermarket, and I'm just gonna try to glue those guys on top of the satellite dish and see whether it holds. So we've got our first Mylar stripe glued on top of the dish, and it doesn't look terribly great. There's a lot of wrinkles in there, a lot of sort of tiny bubbles. You gotta be really careful with the glue, because it it tends to get on top of the actual stripe when you put it down on it, and you can see the traces of the glue in here. So I'll have to remove them somehow later. I'm gonna proceed with the rest of the stripes and see how that goes. Cool, so we've got the whole dish covered with the Mylar now. It's not terribly reflective. You can see that it's somewhat blurry, but I think that should be alright for what we're trying to achieve. I think it should reflect enough energy, and if it doesn't, we'll have to resort to something else, maybe to using tinting film. The next thing to do would be to take it outside and try it in the sun. So I've got it mounted and sitting outside on my deck. You can see that it's holding on to this metal thingy that I also borrowed from my friend Roman. So what I'm gonna try to do next is to put a piece of wooden board in the focal point of it to see whether it gathers enough, whether it sort of directs enough light towards that focal point, and whether there's going to be enough heat. If it all works well, it should be able to set the wooden piece on fire, or at least burn it quite strongly. So let's try to do that. Taking a wooden piece and placing it just where I think the focal point is, and you can see it's quite bright. It gets quite bright. I'll keep it in there. And you can probably already see that some smoke is starting. There's a bit of smoke coming out. Just gonna try to rotate it slightly. Oh, brilliant. It's quite a bit of smoke coming out. Hope you can guys see it. Yeah. Cool, there's actually a lot of smoke coming out, which is pretty good. That means it worked quite well. It didn't start like to burn it immediately. Probably the board is a bit wet, but yeah, it works great. So the next thing I'm gonna try to do is to get some sort of tripod and hang some water in the black container in there to see whether it can boil it. So yeah, that's the dish, and it's sitting on the mount, and it's directing the sun towards one focal point. It's a bit blurry though, but I think it does the job.